This is the video for that number 8 Pythagorean theorem quiz review. Here's question number 1. A communication tower measuring 12 meters tall is supported by straight cables that connect the top of the tower to stakes in the ground that are 5 meters from its base. What is the length of one support cable? And it tells us to draw a picture. So if we have the tower, here's our tower, it's 12 meters tall. It's supported by straight cables that connect the top of the tower to stakes in the ground. So there's the ground. And almost looks like water. The stakes in the ground right here. And it's going out 5 meters from the base. And the base is actually the bottom of whatever it is you're talking about. And so we need to know the length of the support cable, which is right here. And you see we have a right triangle, so let's find our right angle. Draw our arrow so we can locate C. See, there it is. And we're going to start with the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I know I don't have C. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. I'm going to let this equal A and this equal B. And those don't matter because they're going to be added together anyways. So 12 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. Now we're going to do 12 squared, which is 12 times 12, which is 144. Then we have 5 squared, which is 5 times 5, which is 25, equals C squared. So then we can add them together, and that is 169 equals C squared. And C squared would mean that's the area of the triangle off of C, but we don't want to know their area of the triangle. We want to know the length. So I'm going to pick up my cancel pen, and I'm going to square root both sides so I can cancel something out, because I just want C. And the square root of 169 is 13. So my final answer is 13 meters. Question number 2. The right triangle has a square adjacent or next to each of its sides. What is the area of the square on the shortest side? So what is the area of the square on the shortest side of this right triangle? So I'm looking at the right triangle. I know that this is the actual triangle. And I know this line is C. And I'm going to choose A and B for these. Now I know the areas of the squares add up. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So the area of this square plus the area of this square is going to equal this one. So let's start with A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I don't know what A squared is. I don't know what the area of that square is. So I'm going to do A squared as what it is, plus, here's B squared. The area of that square is 144. If that's confusing to you, you know that the square root of 144 is 12, so B actually equals 12. And 12 times 12 is 144. So let's go ahead and put in 144. Equals C squared. The area of the square off of side C is 169. If you take the square root of that, that will give you what the length of C is, and that would be 13. But we're going to use the 169 because we're talking about the area of the square. So now we have to do a one-step equation. And I'm going to subtract 144 from both sides. And then I can bring down the A squared. And when you subtract that, you get 25. So I have A squared equals 25. That means this is going to be 25 feet squared. I know then that A equals 5, but again, it's asking us for the area of the square. And when I say my answer right now, I say A squared. If you say A squared, you're referring to the area of this square. So the area of the square is 25 feet squared because I'm looking for the area. Question number 3. The side of a square measures 8 millimeters. What is the length of the diagonal rounded to the nearest tenth? So we have a square. We can draw a square. All the sides of a square are the same, and we've already been told that they are 8 millimeters. So these are all 8. And we don't have a right triangle yet, but it wants to know the length of the diagonal. And the diagonal goes from one corner to the other across the middle. And now I have my right triangle. So let's identify the right angle and locate C. And that's what we're actually looking for. So let's start with our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm going to choose this to be A and this to be B. So A squared plus 8 squared is C squared. And I do the multiplication. So 8 squared means 8 times 8, and that's 64. We have another one, so we'll do it again. And now 64 plus 64 is 128, and that's C squared. So that's the area of the square off of side C, but we're not looking for that. We're looking for the length. So we have to take our cancel pen and do square root, and cancel. And the square root of 128 is approximately 11.3, and that is what C will equal. So we can have our answer as 11.3 millimeters. So question number 4. The choices below are the lengths of the sides of 3 separate triangles. Which of the following is not a right triangle? So we have to show our work, and I know that the converse of the Pythagorean theorem says that A squared plus B squared has to equal C squared, or it is not a right triangle. And I know this one is my C, so I'm going to put the 25 squared there because the C is always the largest. And then I can do 7 squared plus 24 squared, and that's going to equal the 25 squared. Now I can solve it. So I have 49 plus 576 is equal to 625, because I just squared each one of these. And then when I add them together, I get 625 equals 625. And yes, that will work. So it's looking for not a right triangle. And so we can look at choice B. And I know this one is the largest. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's put the C where it goes first. And then 10 squared plus 24 squared is going to equal the 26 squared. So 100 plus 576 equals 676. So when you add those together, 676 equals 676. So that is a yes. So we're hoping it's the last one, but we're going to do the work just to prove that we did it correctly for the first two and didn't make any mistakes. So, same way, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Identifying C first. So 18 squared, and I have 12 squared plus 16 squared, and let's see. So we have 144 plus 256, and that's equals 324. Let's see if we get the right thing. So 144 plus 256 is actually 400, and that does not equal 324. So let's put a slash, and that one is not going to make a right triangle, so that would be our answer choice. Question number 5. What is the length of the line segment AC in the given figure? And it's actually not AC up here, it's just the line that we have in our picture. It is going to be this one right here. Let me use a different color. Okay, so we know with this that we have a right triangle there. And there is our right angle. So that is going to be C. So then we can see that we're going to use our Pythagorean theorem. And that is C squared. So we don't know what C is. So we're going to put C squared here. And we have the height is right here. So if that's 21 feet, then that means this is 21 feet as well. So I'm going to use that as A. And so down here we're going to use B. But we have to look and see that we actually have the diameter, which is all the way across, is 10. And we only need this part, which is half, for our triangle. So we're going to divide that by 2 to get 5. So the B is 5. So now we can substitute in. We have A squared, which is 21 squared, plus B squared, we're using our 5 squared, equals C squared, we don't know. Now we have to square our numbers, so 21 squared is going to be 441, plus 5 squared is 25, equals C squared. When you add those together, you get 466 for C squared. Let's get our cancel pen, and we're going to do the square root, and cancel. And the square root of 466 is about 21.6, so that's our C measurement. So we have our final answer is 21.6 feet. Question number 6. At Best Buy, a television is listed as being 50 inches. This distance is the diagonal across the screen. If the screen measures 40 inches in height, what is the actual width of the screen? So let's draw our TV. And they said that the diagonal is 50. So that means that this is 50 right here. And now we see our right triangle. So I'm going to label, draw our arrow, and C. There it is. So that is C. And then it says that the screen measures 40 inches in height. So this is going to be 40. I'm going to label that as A. And then we're actually looking for B. That'll be the width of the screen. So we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared again. And we have 40 squared plus B squared equals 50 squared, because we were given C. So now we can do the multiplication. 40 squared, 40 times 40 is 1600, plus B squared, 50 times 50 is 2500. Now we have an equation, so I'm going to pick up my cancel pen, and I'm going to do minus 1600 minus 1600, draw a line and cancel, and I have B squared equals 900. Well, I'm not looking for the area off of side B. We're looking for B, the length. So we're going to square root, and cancel. And that means B is going to equal 30. So the width of this screen is 30 inches. Question number 7. A cone has a height of 10 and a radius of 4. So if you have your cone, and I am terrible at drawing, but there it is, almost looks like a witch's hat. The height of the cone is 10. So here's the center, that's going to be 10. And the radius is 4, so the radius is halfway. That's going to be 4. Now I have my right triangle that I can see. And I'm going to shade the right triangle so you can see it even better. So there it is. And we have our right angle right here. So we draw the arrow, and that is going to be C. So that means 10 and 4 are A or B. So I'm going to do A and B. So we're going to use Pythagorean theorem again. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We don't know what C is, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in to make sure everything goes in the right place. And I have 4 squared plus 10 squared. And that'll equal to C squared. Now we do our multiplication. And we have 16 plus 100 equals C squared. Add those together, 116 equals C squared. We're not looking for the area of a square, so we're going to do square root, and cancel. And the square root of 116 is approximately 10.8, and that is C. So our answer, what is the slant height, is going to be 10.8 inches. For question number 8, what is the approximate length of AB? So we have a right triangle already. Here's our right angle. Let's identify C first. And then A and B can go where they want. So we're going to do A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And this time I'm not given the measurements, but I do have to count them that on the graph to be able to find out what they are. So A, start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. And B, we'll start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So then I can substitute that in. So my A squared is 7, my A is 7, plus 5 squared equals C squared is what we're looking for. So 49 plus 25 equals C squared. When you add those together, you get 74 for C squared, but we're not looking for the area of the square off of side C. So we're going to solve for C. So we square root, and cancel. And the square root of 74 is approximately 8.6. That is our measurement of C. For number 9, what is the length of PQ shown on the coordinate plane? Here we have our measurement from P to Q. To be able to create a right triangle, we just have to make sure we stay on the road. So I'm going to drive up on the road and see this is where I meet. So I'm going to turn, and I have created my right triangle. So now I can do this to make my right angle. Draw an arrow, and that will be C. So I'm going to do A and B here. So now I have to count again. So for A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I can find the measurement of side C. So we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 6. Bring down the squared, plus 8 squared equals C squared. And to solve them, 6 squared is 6 times 6, so 36, plus 8 squared is 8 times 8, which is 64, and that equals C squared. So now we add those together. 36 plus 64 is 100, and that equals C squared. Again, we're not looking for the area of the square. We are looking for the side length, so we use our cancel pen to do square root, and cancel. And the square root of 100 is 10. So that's the measurement of C. You can even write 10 units for your final answer. The next question is 10. We have a rectangular prism, so we know we're going to use a different formula, and it's going to be L squared plus W squared plus H squared, and that's going to give us the diagonal squared. So we have our three measurements. It doesn't really matter where you put them in because you're just adding them together. So I'm going to do 8 squared plus 5 squared plus 2 squared equals the diagonal squared. So I have 8 times 8 is 64 plus 5 times 5 is 25 plus 2 times 2 is 4, and that gives me D squared. And now when I add all of those together, I get 93 for D squared. And again, D squared is the area of the square off of that slant or that diagonal, but we're not looking for the area of the square, we're looking for just side D. So we have to pick up our cancel pen, we have to square root, and cancel. So the square root of 93 is about 9.6, and that is what our measurement of D is going to equal. So our final answer, 9.6 centimeters. For question number 11, two sides of a right triangle measure 15 inches and 9 inches, and it's the two sides. What is the length of the third side? So now we're talking about the hypotenuse for that one. So if you have a triangle, and it's 15 and it's right, so we know that, and 9, we know this is going to be C. I'm going to label that as A, and this one as B. I have a right triangle, so I'm looking for the length of a side, so I know I'm going to use A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And I'm using 15 squared plus 9 squared equals C squared. And then we're going to do the multiplication, so 15 times 15 is 225 plus 9 times 9 is 81 equals C squared. We can add those two together and we get 306 for C squared. C squared means that that's the area of the square off of side C. We don't want the area of the square. We want the length of the side, so we pick up our cancel pen and do square root, and cancel. And the square root of 306 is about 17.5 for C. So the final answer is 17.5 inches. That's the answer to number 11. The last problem is number 12. What is the length of the hypotenuse of the right triangle? So I know the length of the hypotenuse, we're actually looking for this. we're looking for C. I'm going to label this as A and this as B. And I'm going to start by writing my formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Remember, when I have the squared part, I'm referring to the area of that square. So A squared is referring to 16. The square root of 16 is 4, so that means A, side A is 4 feet, but the area is 16, and that's what we need for the formula. 16 plus B squared, that's the area off of B. We know B is 5. So area of 16 plus the 25 is going to equal the area of this one. So 16 plus 25 is C squared. And 16 plus 25 is 41 for C squared. So that is the area of the square off of side C. So this is 41 feet squared. But we're not looking for the area of the square, we're looking for the length. The length means we have to use our cancel pen and do square root, and cancel so that we get C. And the square root of 41 is about 6.4. So that's the length of the hypotenuse of this right triangle. It is 6.4 feet.